right, because they had to finish up anyways. The kids are coming over. Don't folks don't put their phones away. Yeah, I will after I do this. Okay. Marhaba.
Hello.
Ahlan wa sahlan fi kisat Elissa.
Welcome to the story of Elissa.
So we have 2 clipboards coming around, so just make sure that you're able to get your name on that so Elissa knows who is here and that you silence your cell phones. We both have so much that we could say about Elissa, but we're going to hold our tongues and just speak Arabic.
Yalla nisma hikmet hayal binet el habibe.
Come, let's listen to the wisdom and passion of this beloved woman. Yalla, yalla.
Thank you, Mr. Bush and Mr. Bennett, for that introduction. That was quite interesting. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I have learned great lessons in high school. Of course, aside from learning how to find what X is when the sky is blue, and how to balance equations, or how to manage to do 5 assignments in one night after a fun procrastination session. As for me, I can summarize my lessons in high school in what I now call the 5 C's you learn in high school. First C, confusion will rule your life for a while. If I could tell my 15-year-old freshman self anything, I would tell that girl to not beat herself up about being liked by everyone. I would tell her to love herself for who she is, not for who she wishes to be. I would tell her that she's enough for the God who created her. I would tell my 15-year-old self that it's okay to fail and make mistakes. It's okay to be confused and feel lost because we are here to learn and grow to become who we are meant to be. So let me begin. There was no specific time for me when I officially started high school. My school had 6th to 12th graders all together and did not identify us as freshmen in high school whatsoever. We were simply and modestly 9th graders. That was the year when the immigration spark in my family started. My father, just like every other Middle Eastern man, saw the United States as heaven on earth, the golden ticket, the wonderland where everything is possible. I was completely against the idea of leaving my homeland, the place that I love and I have always fought for, the place where I spent my childhood running around and climbing trees with the neighbors. Freshman year was not so bright for me. I struggled with maintaining friendships and I had a hard time connecting with God. To add to that, it was my first school year without my best friend Angeline, who had moved to California. As I struggled with loving who I was, my grades dropped dramatically, and I was no longer at the top of my class. With the idea of immigrating becoming a daily topic, I decided to stop my parents' discussions with my original, yet unsuccessful techniques. I started my own hunger strike. I hid in my room all day, refusing to have any meal with my parents or eat anything until they changed their minds. But that did not actually happen because, well, I used to sneak out of my bedroom, grab whatever I can hold in my hands or in my pockets, from bananas to sandwiches to crackers, and hide everything under my bed. My parents thought that I was starving. Little did they know I had the entire grocery store under my bed. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But God, who knows me so well, knew that I would need to see with my own eyes the outside world before I could make a decision. And so I was offered a 2-week trip to a small city in France. I fell in love with everything about France, from the charming people to the amazing food and the wonderful sights. I stayed with 2 different host families during my trip and got to travel around and experience what being French feels like. And let me tell you, it's absolutely amazing. Being in France was my first time to see life without a border wall, without guns and tanks everywhere, without a fear of a soldier invading my house. That was my first time to see that there's a world that is not filled with destruction and forgotten ambitions. I had to see it with my own eyes. God sent me to France, now I know, because he knew that is what would finally make me change my mind. I knew that I was the one keeping my family from leaving, and I was preventing them from having a better life. As much as I hate saying this, I cannot deny the truth. I loved feeling free for once. So I finally chose to give it to God and say yes to a new mysterious yet promising life. Second C, cherish the little things in life. Knowing that sophomore year would be my last year with my classmates of more than 13 years made me appreciate every single moment with them. I miss wearing those uniforms that I remember hating. I miss having to have my hair in a braid every day with neatly folded white socks and solid black shoes. I miss sitting in those tiny benches that I'm sure those who made them hated human beings and wanted them to die. I missed the parties we had during classes, from jumping on the desks to clapping and dancing, which led to several injuries afterwards. These were the people that I shared my happiest and saddest moments with. They were my family for 13 years. I was highly involved in my community, from scouts to attending basketball games to summer camps. I loved being around and a part of everything that happened. I was a hardcore fan of the basketball team in my town, Betsahod. I attended every game, cheered the players up, lost my voice, teased the other team when we won, and cried for hours when we lost. I was struggling to put my trust in God at that time. How can I put my whole life at risk? How can I lose my home at the risk of never finding another home again? I remember praying to God, asking Him to show me what the right thing is. But it was about to happen, and we were about to start a new journey. Third C, courage is taught through the most painful moments in life. And just like that, my old life ended and a new one started. July 2nd of 2017 was the beginning of a painful yet mysteriously wonderful journey. You know, I have always envied those who got to see Jesus, walk with Him, talk to Him, and hug Him. And I've always craved to be one of those people. But little did I know that He's present in the people around me. I have seen Jesus in those who stood by my family's side when we had no one and when the earth about to swallow us. When we first came here, stuck in the unknown, the McGrath family became the shoulder we needed to rely on. I thought we would be so alone, just like strangers to everyone, but you guys have been there through thick and thin. David, Gladys, John, Kim, Tori, Aaron, Anna, Arthur, and Heather. Thank you for everything you have done for us so far. From remembering all of our birthdays, to making us amazing desserts, to being our 911 that we could call for any emergency. I'm so blessed to have you in my life. Our situation was so incomprehensible for most people. With my dad not allowed to work and us not having any papers, we were unable to find a house or buy a car, which prevented us from attending the public schools. Our situation seemed hopeless, and it was in those moments that I needed God the most. I needed Him to show me that we did not come across the world. We did not cross seas and oceans just for this, a complete disappointment. But it takes courage to trust that God will reveal His way at the right time, when all you can see around you is complete darkness. But God had a plan in store, just like usual. As we were approaching the end of August, God made His move through His angels. Ken Burkholder, whom I have known since I was almost 9 years old, called my dad, informing him that he had found us a house and a school in Lansdale area, just like that. On the day that we had to move from Pottstown to Plumsteadville, an army led by the one and only Bob Moyer showed up to help us, from cleaning to lifting the furniture to driving back and forth. Those people who did not know us at that time helped us without expecting anything in return. Since it took us a while to settle in, we started school at Dock 1 week late. I remember meeting Mr. Weens for the first time and him asking me what my favorite TV show was. Not what you would expect a principal to ask you in a first meeting, but Mr. Weens is like no other principal, special and wonderful in his own way. I had no idea how to handle everything. I could not comprehend that for the first time in 13 years, after 13 years of oppression and control, I finally get the freedom to choose my own classes. I vividly remember asking to get out of any math classes for God's sake. With a schedule of my own being overwhelming enough, I had to actually walk to my classes. Thanks to Hannah Swartley, who walked me to each classroom for a week and showed me where every class was, saving me from much embarrassment. I recall hearing students complain about the amount of work they had. In my head, all I could think of is, geez, I took chemistry, biology, and physics together along with history and geography, English, Arabic, and French classes on top of a math class every single day, so just relax. Everything was different. As I was on my way to Washington, D.C. with the social issues class, I saw what my brain thought was a checkpoint like the ones I had to go through with a special permit to cross the border. I vividly remember the fear as I did not have my passport with me. My classmates witnessed my anxiety and told me to relax, that it's just a toll booth. I was then taken away by the realization of how different I was from anyone else. A toll booth scared me. Being able to travel from a place to another without having to stop to be searched by a soldier shocked me. I knew I was different when my heart was filled with joy from the small waterfalls at Martin Luther King Memorial, thinking that I can easily see water now, when I barely had any back home. My first conversation with Kate Landis couldn't be any worse. I remember asking her for an eraser, and since I spent my life learning the British English, I ended up asking for a rubber instead. The look on Kate's face indicated that I had either asked for something completely inappropriate or does not exist in our current world. with me insistently repeating rubber over and over again and scrubbing the table as to explain what I actually mean, she finally understood. Kate and Hannah, you were there for me since the very beginning of my journey at DOC. You were there for the ups and downs. You were there to celebrate my accomplishments and wipe my tears when I cried. I cannot wait to see what great things the future has for you. Thank you for all that you have done for me. I love you both. Coming into a private school, seeing those who can draw, those who can sing, those who play instruments, and those who play sports made me such an envious person, yet an angry one too. I hated that on the same earth there are people dying for the things that people across the world want to have. I had always wanted to learn to play an instrument or play a sport, but I was never able to, just because of where I used to live. I'm a stubborn person. I know it. You do not need to tell me. But that level of stubbornness had exceeded the roof in my junior year. I wanted to achieve everything. It was almost like the whole world is driving a car while I'm running after them, trying to catch up. I wish at that time I had told myself that I do not need to know everything. I wish I had told myself that my life is different and so are my experiences. I wish I had told myself that I'm here to learn, which leads me to my fourth C. Calm down. You do not need to be good at everything. I have struggled to find my place. My differences separated me from everyone else. I became so good at hiding that I found spots that no one would ever think of. The cafeteria was not my place. Every single individual seemed to have a table, their names carved on that specific chair. I did not seem to have one, so having lunch alone was something I was getting used to. It was Angie, who was a senior from Mexico, that chose to share the loneliness with me. By the end of the year, I discovered my love for music when I heard the choir singing. I thought to myself, how great would it be to be in a choir? My stubbornness proved to be beneficial since I spent my summer giving myself special voice lessons. I'm pretty sure our neighbors thought we were torturing a cat at that time. I have waited for the day that we would end up going back home. I felt like a betrayer, as if I had stabbed my whole country in the back. But as I got to speak to different congregations and to my classmates about the injustice that is happening in my country, I realized that this is the place where Jesus wants me to be. I need to be the voice to those who were murdered by soldiers, wrongly convicted and tortured. I need to speak up for those my age whose childhood had been stolen from them. And finally, my fifth C. Certainly, it will all make sense one day. I was determined to leave the shell that I had been hiding in and bring back the old, loud, goofy embarrassment magnetizer self. As a step forward, I joined the volleyball team with my sister. And since our knowledge of volleyball was not quite that impressive, we were on the junior varsity team. I surrounded myself with the pressure of being judged by everyone for not being good enough. But that experience was one of a kind because it opened in front of me a door to meet new people like Laura Berge, who soon became one of my dearest friends. Laura, thank you for all the laughs, the awkward dance moves, and the long Jesus talks. With hard work and dedication, I was able to join the choir. There's something special about singing with a group of people, more than 40 voices coming together as one. I made great friendships and amazing memories. I can say that it was one of the highlights of my year. Thank you, Ms. Grimes, for always encouraging me and believing in me. I wouldn't be where I am today without your constant kindness and reassurance. Sweet Gabriella. South Carolina was the destination for our senior experience in January. I traveled with the Fabulous Five, Rachel Lopes, Teresa Beck, Aaliyah Haggard, Michaela Martin, and Macy Balmer, led by the one and only Cheryl Martin. We joined Mennonite Disaster Services in helping a family whose house had been destroyed by the floods and hurricanes in the area. It was heartwarming to see the gratitude in the house owner's eyes. Now, if you ever wanted to know how long it takes a group of girls to bond, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is less than an hour. Just give them something they all do not like, and there you go. I wouldn't have wanted to share the warm sun and the beautiful weather with anyone but these amazing girls. Although I had met Macy Balmer when I first came to Doc, we did not get to connect until our senior year. As we spent more time together, I knew I had found a great friend. From drinking coffee to communicating with our eyes and to having the best conversations, Macy has made this year sweeter for me in her own way. I have made great friends this year who have shown me God's grace in so many ways. Friends who were there to listen to me, who loved me, and who made me laugh constantly. To those of you who are here today, thank you for all that you have done for me. I cannot name you all, but when I thought that I would never have close friends again, I met all of you who made saying goodbye so hard. There are those among you who helped my family from moving to a new house, to attending Doc, and to showing us nothing but generosity and kindness. I want to thank you because you have shown me God's grace. To the amazing faculty, I thank you for helping me and welcoming me into your community. I thank you for the great conversations we have had for the past 2 years and for pouring out your love all over me. Mr. Bush and Mr. Benner, you are not just my teachers, you are my mentors, 2 of my best friends, and absolutely the best Arabic speakers out there, as you saw. Thank you for all that you have done for me for the past 2 years. I'm going to miss you both so much. I want to thank the 2 people who were my rock, Mom and Dad. There's nothing I can say, not even the stars in the sky, can accurately tell you how much I love you. Baba, thank you for never giving up when the whole world was against you. Thank you for always believing in me, your little princess. Hear that, Jessica? Mama, thank you for being my #1 fan. Thank you for tolerating my rebellious, irresponsible behaviors. Thank you for taking care of the 4 of us. Without you, we would be eating eggs every day under the mercy of Dad. You 2 have sacrificed so much to make us happy. You have been God's grace to me, and all I do is for you. I hope I made you proud. To the 2 troublemakers, Jessica and Hannah, I would not want to fight every day with anyone else in the world but you. You 2 brighten my life in such a magical way, and I'm eternally thankful to have you in my life. Jessica, I'm sorry for all the clothes I have borrowed and will continue to borrow from you. And Hannah, thank you for expanding my knowledge about the Pokemons. I did need to know all about them. And I have to thank Jesus, who has been with me and will never give up on me. Although I was a mess, he still held on to me. Even when I turned away, he still waited for me, and with his love, he protected me. He found me, and just the way I am, he accepted me. I want to thank Jesus because he's the reason and the only reason that I'm standing in front of you today. I have been under a lot of mental pressure lately, trying to figure out my plans for the future. Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? I spent days of thinking, and I would reach a dead end every day. From complaining to Mr. Bush and to Mr. Benner, to crying to my parents, and to having conversations with my friends, I could not come to a solid, strong decision of what the next chapter of my life will look like. But there's one thing that has always been there, and one thing I will always be confident of, is that I want to help people. I do not know how I'm going to do it, but I know that but I know that I want to help the people the world has forgotten about. I want to help the broken, the hungry, the poor, the incarcerated. I want to be the voice to those who had lost theirs due to the world's cruelty and injustice. I do not know how all this can be accomplished, but I do know that God will help me through it. While I have no idea what my future will look like, I know I will land on my feet where I need to be at the exact right time. I trust that God will sail with me whatever He wants me to be. I fully and wholly believe that He knows the plans He has for me, plans to prosper me and not to harm me, plans to give me hope and future. For His name, all honor and all glory. Thank you.